So, hello everyone. We want to start a new series under the slogan, under the motto, We Are One. And actually, not just We Are One written like this, also considering the digital aspects because we now live in a digital world. And yeah, for that reason, I have invited Marco and I briefly introduced Marco and myself as well. So, what we have in common is that we are both coming from the tech industry and you more as an entrepreneur and I yeah partly as an entrepreneur but also as an employee. We worked with corporations, large corporations. You built big companies for over 25 years, I think.
Yeah. Something like that. Time flies.
Exactly. And yeah, and this is what we had in common. And yeah, we met each other also on the internet and yeah, found interesting common topics. Do you want to add something to that?
No, I love it. I really love the way how we met again and how we found out that we know each other, and then we found out that we know friends, which we didn't know. So it's yeah, it might be a way an approach on our conversation. So the thing about coincidences and so on, if that's really existing or not, that might be a sort topic to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. So it felt really when the time is ripe or the time is right that the right people meet together and to have a conversation at least. Yeah. And so I would be curious. So, yeah, I know a little bit about your career and that you never felt really content or happy. You did what you did and you did it successfully, but maybe you can briefly say something what you didn't like or what.
So which is interesting is that obviously when you are in this situation, and to whom is listening, maybe there are some into this situation, you don't necessarily see that you are not content. So it's more about the cues you're getting. It's more about these prolonged moments I got of thinking, here, I'm just a fraud. Even so, I wasn't. Obviously, I wasn't. I was successful. I did a lot, but I felt like that. And so, when these kind of thoughts are coming, what we normally do is we just find a way. We use NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and we make the thought go away, which works actually. It's really nice. I still use sometimes these kind of techniques because it's on the short run, it's really interesting. But if you do this kind of stuff for too long, you're getting it out of your mind. You're not getting it out of your system. And so that's what happened to me. I didn't get it out of my system. And I will never forget, probably on my height of business when I was running a global startup with offices in San Francisco, in Singapore, Luxembourg, and like really like an operation with for 50 people all over one day, Sunday, I was before flying, I don't know, to one or the other direction in the world. I was at my parents' place and my mother said, Marco, you should reconnect with your spirituality. And I said, yeah, one day. But these are cues. These are cues. People, that was for me. It doesn't have to be that somebody tells you, but if somebody tells you, are you really running this? Is that really everything you have to do? Is that really everything? Is that, and not somebody who has an ulterior motive, but somebody close, somebody you love, who
Yeah.
tells you these kind of messages which you don't want to hear. That's where you need to listen.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, very interesting. So, your mother told you you should turn back to your spirituality? Yeah, wow. Wow. That's deep and interesting. And what did you make out of it? So, what is spirituality for you then and now maybe?
Well, then that's about my story. So I share my story not in the logic of saying everybody needs to have the same story, but I had a very big connection to my spirituality, which was as a growing up was Catholic faith, and I had that till I don't know my age of maybe 14, 15, which I was very deeply. I loved that, and I let it go totally. There were a lot of reasons. Maybe the main reason was that it wasn't cool.
It wasn't cool, no.
So it wasn't cool, and people like me, not everybody is like that, but people like me, at that level of insecurity as I was, need to fit in. So that was not a way to fit in. So I just let go of this one.
That's very
And so that was spirituality. What the spirituality was when I was a child. I really felt connected. I really felt connected to a higher power. I called it God at that time, and it was beautiful. And I loved my singing in church, and I loved it because it brought me to that. So as said, it totally went away, and I didn't look at that anymore at all afterwards. But that was what it was, and actually, I think that's what my mother was referring to. I seriously, before my puberty, I wanted to become a priest.
yeah.
And then girls came around, and I thought, oh well, that doesn't work. Catholic
Yeah,
priest, so
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't work. So. Yeah. But just saying, and so I had that in me. And again, that is my story. It doesn't matter what your story is. We all have this longing for
Exactly.
harmony and serenity,
Exactly.
and everybody has a story where he finds this harmony and serenity, and where he let it go for the craziness of life.
Yeah.
Because that was what happened then. So, what was my spirituality when my mother said that?
I just
Oppressed.
want to drop in. I'm so impressed what your mother said, because for me it was like my mother would have said, maybe stay with your Christian faith, not stay with your spirituality, which is more neutral. It can be religion, which is also fine. I think there are many positive aspects also in religion, which there is also common ground, what we might understand also as spirituality. But this what impressed me, that she used actually this term.
Which is very interesting because, and I never thought about it, but it's really interesting because she is a very, very, very deep believer in Catholic and Christian faith. And she didn't use that term. So it's really interesting. I will ask her. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. I
It's
will
really
ask her. What happened
interesting.
there?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I think in general, religion can be a really good path to spirituality. We know sometimes there are a little bit conflicts if the organizations, churches, or whatever, if this is the right way to organize it, or if you just can keep it with yourself, the spirituality. And I think in general, I wanted to talk also about the term spirituality, because it's so vague, and everyone understands something different
Yeah,
under
you
it. And
bet.
for some, is it so esoteric, I would say, so woohoo, and not really making any sense. And at the same time, I have the impression that many people are looking for a spirituality. I call them online or undercover yogis, and I think they are everywhere in the companies.
So, what is spirituality?
Yeah, what is spirituality?
That's a big one, huh?
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah,
Spirituality is this longing to understand first.
yeah,
Is this longing to understand, where do I come from? Where do I go? Who
yeah,
am I?
yeah.
Why am I here?
Why I am here.
It's like, and then we talk, and then we think about Simon Sinek, and we talk about purpose. Nah, it goes deeper than that. But it is the why am I here?
Yeah, why I am here. This is actually a question I heard from so many people, no matter what background. Why I am here is really such a core question, and everyone thinks about what is my purpose? Who am I actually, right? What I
Well, but we'll come back to that maybe later, but just to poke it, I always say it always starts with who I am and not with why I'm here. It always starts with an assessment of who am I? Everything. Because if we start with the why question, we might just build it on the basis of not knowing the who. And then that's a recipe for disaster. But the other questions in spirituality is really this link to something bigger than ourselves. This understanding of systems. I always so I always was somebody who thought about the world, how things are working in the world, the intrigue, the things between how things are related and so on. And then not so long ago, I think 2 years ago, somebody said, "Marco, you are a total system thinker." I said, "Oh shit, that's a term." So he gave me a book, and I read this book, and it's really system thinking. But at the end, system thinking is about spirituality,
I
because
think
it's not about
good.
you and me
Yeah,
alone. Even so, it everything goes through ourselves. It's always about the system,
yeah, yeah.
and that's where you can be get in a sense crazy because you think, oh yeah, but spirituality is about me. It's about my own experience and so on, and that's totally right, but it isn't. Because it's also about everything else at the same time.
Actually, I like the term system. You know, I'm pretty much into yoga, and you also there have so many different systems actually, and it's nothing bad. And our governments and our companies run on systems, and we organize probably our families also on systems. So actually, I think it's a good thing.
Yes, it's about how can we create systems which work
Yeah,
so that everybody is happy, everybody is content.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I think about what's happening in the world right now, and I really
I know.
refuse to go there because we can't go into that rabbit hole. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
end up
I
there,
know.
but
I
it is
challenging. Yeah, yeah. But what I say, the internet is the greatest seduction of all human mankind, and we got so many times also distracted. And of course, it makes sense what is happening globally. And at the end, we need to start with us. So we need to be content and transport it and communicate it also to others and to see. And I also wanted to make the bridge to the AI, which comes into an additional layer. And yeah, maybe this has the potential to reach out because we are one internet, even though there are in some countries some filters and stuff. And at the end, we are feeding one AI, or the AI eats our experiences and knowledge and informations, and yeah, makes it like a common ground for everyone.
yes. The- There are so many ways to look at AI these days. One thing, and I think we talked about it in our last conversation, but I, I always talk about this biggest identity crisis humanity ever faced. That is for me what
Yeah,
happens right now.
absolutely.
Because is AI good or bad? Will we have Skynet or not? It's all maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not intelligent enough to foresee that. But what I see is that people are starting to ask them these fundamental questions. Who the F am I here? If now my cognitive intelligence, which since Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, not the other way around. Since he said that, 1637, we created a world where the only measure of us, the only real measure of our capacity as human beings is our cognitive intelligence. It's our IQ. That's what was measured for the last 500 years. And now my IQ is reduced to ask good questions, write a good prompt.
Wow, I like that.
And so where we're going here is into a world where that is not important anymore. Well, actually, the questions gets more and more important. Also, our cognitive intelligence needs to change, and it's not the first time this is said. I remember there is this very high-end human resource consultant, John Hagel, who talked about it years ago and always said the best leader is not the ones who has the best answers, but the ones who ask the best questions. And that leverage of asking the right question will become our superpower. Well, we are not used to that. So what are we doing as human beings now? We are starting in companies. I look into companies. So we're not talking about a robot who is installed at Opel or at Mercedes in Germany and some people who didn't do any school, not to judge them, just saying, who have an in a sense in our society being seen as a menial job loses their job. Or we are talking about paralegals. Nobody needs a paralegal anymore. Literally. It's like, I give you an example, just like a very quick example. Hey, it's my Mother Day today. So my mother calls me early morning. She's 81 and she still runs these associations and the changing their bylaws. And so she changed the bylaws, has her own Mac, so I always keep her up to date. has her own Mac, and she changes the bylaws. And then some very sneaky guy comes up and says, yeah, but there's this mistake, that is not in the right of the law, and so on. And when she called me, I really felt shit, like that goes a step too far. I said, give me 30 minutes. I went to the Luxembourgish e-government site, download the law, put it up to ChatGPT, asked exactly these questions, made her a report, sent it to her, said, now talk to the guy. He was like that. How would we have done that 10 years ago? Where do I, for 10 years ago, would have said, where do I find that law?
Exactly.
No, that's like directly. And that's like, you get that information and you don't need anybody. And it was accurate. It was absolutely accurate because it was all my questions. So you know how ChatGPT is. You have to tell him, don't fantasize. Just look at the document. Don't try to come up with funny things. Like you literally have to prompt him in that way. But when you do that, then he just comes up with examples. And that is what the work of a paralegal was. Just saying. So done.
So
It's like, and all these people, and that's only one example, and all these people now ask themselves the question, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing here? What I am, like my intelligence is not good enough anymore.
yeah, what I sense is actually that yeah, given the time now to think about that question. And before that, actually, every day we had to organize ourselves, had to hustle
Yes.
to create an income and everything. And it was a different life. And for me personally, it's also life is a generational thing. And it's not necessarily something you need to accomplish now, here and then. You give further informations, experiences, and I think the core question is really why I am here, and who am I, and what can I be in service of. And yeah, so this is so interesting how you rounded it up. And I also wanted to add to the quote, I think. Uh, and there I am here, or therefore I am. But what if we turn it around? I am, and therefore I think, uh, uh, might be a different thinking. And what you said, it's like 1637 or so.
I don't know, 27 or 37, but it's like, and
So like 500 years ago almost. So yeah, I think we also kind of have a renaissance in that sense, because we have more time. We can achieve things much easier. And this is what I also wanted to say, how you described it, that you could give this law information to your mother, that she has the discussion. In a sense, it democratizes also the society, because everyone can now look into the law and fight for the right. And yeah, again, we think about what it would have been 10 years ago. You would be exhausted if you start something with the lawyer, or go to court, or have any discussions. It would be so frustrating and exhausting that you would say, okay, leave him. I lost, but I never want to see him again, or whatever. And maybe left frustrated and depressed back, but it's not necessary anymore.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But what are we doing with that time? What are we doing with that freedom we are creating?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the question.
question. That's the question. Are we creating more obsolete stuff, more craziness? Are we filling up our head with
This is so good.
useless shit? Or are we taking it as the opportunity to go deep? That's our decision.
For me personally, we have already reached the peak of nonsense. And
You will be in for a treat the next few months, I tell you. You didn't see nothing yet.
yeah, I know there is more crazy things to come, especially with technology, and this probably will never stop. And someday maybe there will also people on the Mars or whatever. But for me, the peak is already reached, and it reminds me actually that movie 2012. I don't know if you remember, which was showing like how the world create gets under basically. And I've never seen crazier special effects in a cinema than in this movie. And it was so much overloaded, and I said, I will never go in a cinema again. The story was flat. I'm sorry for the director, but the story was so flat. It was just special effects, and it was perfectly made. But and this reminds me of these days. It's actually you can imagine everything, create an image, create a video, can do whatever you want, but actually we are not there yet that we understand what we want, I think. So we create all this nonsense and bullshit, how you said.
I think the important thing is not to know what we want. The important thing is that we collectively ask that question. Who am I? Who are we? Who are we now as a species? Where the only competition we see is between DeepSeek and ChatGPT. Who are we now? It's like, oh yeah, he's using less Nvidia chips. That's great. Now Nvidia will lose 17% on the stock market because of that. Like totally hilarious things just happening like that. And it's like, so it's like we are irrelevant from that perspective. We as a mass, Mr. Altman might not be irrelevant, and some others neither. But honestly, how what I hear, how they train the AI, they will are or will be irrelevant with their cognitive intelligence. Absolutely, already now. Who are we as a species? Are we a spiritual species, or are we a material species, or are we both? But we need to combine it.
That's interesting. Actually, there is a Chinese saying that everyone becomes irrelevant. It's just a question of time. At this time, probably Sam Altman is very important.
I think he paid his 3 million to be up there at the inauguration, so it's all good. Everybody who paid the price could be there.
So
We, yeah, sorry.
yeah, so the question is where we are going. I mean, we built up our conversation now around spirituality, which I think also implies somehow consciousness. What is consciousness and is AI conscious? And I think the question is so interesting that AI pushes us actually also to think about more about ourselves and about our consciousness and how we are connected actually.
It's civilization started with the Oracle of Delphi. Now that's exaggerated because it starts with the Sumerians, which was thousands of years before. But like our things, like the Greek states, and there was Delphi, and Delphi had written on top of that, "Know thyself."
Wow.
That was written
Wow.
at the entrance of the cave where you went in, Delphi. Nothing changed till then. Now we want to understand, we want to know how Mars functions, we want to know how everything functions, but how do I function? And that's
So
why we need to dig into our emotional intelligence and into our spiritual intelligence to go to the depth of ourselves. That has nothing to do with God, with religion. It's all not important. The only thing which matters is if we want to redefine ourselves, we cannot redefine us in the cognitive space, obviously, with all the things we just discussed. So we need to go down into our emotional intelligence. We need to understand our emotions. We need to be able to manage our emotions, and we need to be able to understand others' emotions and to manage these emotions. But we also need to go deeper. We need to ask these deeper questions, the spiritual questions. Who am I? Where do I go? Where do I come from? Why am I
well,
here?
what happens if we don't do that and AI becomes more and more?
I'm not a fortune teller, and I can talk about scenarios.
Well, I had the impression so like if we don't ask ourselves those questions, if we don't deal with our emotions, someone else will.
Yes, exactly.
We are all already in this world. So I'm have a pretty much strong online marketing background and it's always pushing the buttons, the emotional buttons. So and really to give you this dopamine rush that you stay with this offer and actually buy. This is what I sense that this is why is it so important to understand your emotions and your system actually coming back to the system to understand your system to be more self-reliant and not dictated or manipulated from someone else.
So It starts with trusting the inside more than the outside. In a world today where the outside, I call it the end of knowledge, where every knowledge we get, we don't know is right. We don't know. I just had a conversation about stuff, what happens in the US with somebody, and I said, I read only two sources about that. I will give you my opinion on it, but I have no clue. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much that is or isn't manipulated. So the only truth we can find inside. How does that make me feel?
Yeah.
How is that related to what I truly deeply believe? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves more. So, what happens if we're not doing it? I invite you to look some episodes of Black Mirror and you will see what happens. I remember this one where the world was where humans were sieged by flying by drones who wanted to deliver packages to them. And these drones were killing them because they didn't want to consume. It was like totally crazy, but think about it. So that doesn't mean that we should not consume. That doesn't mean that we should not, but we should do it not on the basis of an external impulse, but of what our if on our inner truth. Now that's not easy to get there in a second. So
Sure,
you
sure.
need to work on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think, yeah, as I said, it's I think a generational thing that experience will be passed, and it's not necessarily that we will reach this in or see this in our lifetime. I think it's actually challenging, even though we know there is too much clothes and too much plastic. We can't get rid of it from one day to the next. There's so many people who are really earning their bread and butter from it, and you don't want to leave them behind hungry and with nothing in their hands. So this will create probably even more chaos. So step by step we will need to adjust everything. In that sense, we don't need a revolution, more a re-evolution. So maybe going a little step back and to have then a few step forward again, and really to see, okay, how can we this manage, and also, yeah, um, that everyone thinks for themselves what they really need, and yeah, everyone has their own time to adjust and what is needed. Yeah.
But again, a revolution is something external. In this, no external revolution ever brought the result which some thought it should bring. So we can have a conversation about the French Revolution, but I think we will not go there. Well, we could, because this is a topic I really looked at. So revolution needs to happen inside ourselves. The revolution is that I stop clinging to old phrases, to old words, to old thoughts, and I am ready to change them into empowering ones. That's a revolution. And if everybody who tried that already to do that, it feels like a revolution because it's freaking hard. But doing that is a revolution. And so to really look at it from a very positive side, what happens when people are frustrated because what happens right now, because they are losing their jobs, and so on, is Tony Robbins had it. I was doing my Tony Robbins event in Hawaii in 1998. It was crazy stuff. And you came into the room and one big thing hanging on the top, like, I was like, frustration is a good thing, is a good place to be because you are about to having a breakthrough. I will never forget that phrase because every time you are frustrated, you have the opportunity to break through that frustration. And that's what it is about. That wanting to break through is what needs to become our mantra, not, yeah, how do I make a revolution? Okay, that's the Democrats thinking in the US how to do a revolution against Trump now. I don't know. It's not about that. It will
Exactly.
not change anything.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't want to maybe go too political, but what I sense, it's not about left or right.
Sorry,
It's not.
I opened the door. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no. It's not about left or right. At the end, we
Yeah,
will
it's
just
absolutely
make
not.
it together. Of course, we can separate or condemn what people do or say, or, but we are in it together. So, and we need to
We are all
find a
one.
way together. And maybe it's not in this lifetime. Maybe we just can do a few steps. I think especially politics and religions, it's a big one to find common ground. And yeah, for me, it's really finding common ground. And sometimes it's really annoying, disgusting, and you might feel like you want to vomit. But this is what it is. I mean, we are all connected. We are under the same sky, under the same moon, under the same sun, and we try to do the best of our lives. And yeah,
Maybe what I would like, what triggered what you just said, what triggered in me, was triggered by that, is that I don't believe anymore that religions are the answer. I don't, and I say that not in the sense that I debate the religious beliefs of people, but religions as entities which try to take control. That's what I'm thinking about. And because, as an example, my guru Paramahansa Yogananda came to the US in 1920 by invitation of I have to get the name together, I might do a little bit wrong, but of the Society for Comparative Religions. And I think it was called differently, but something in that sense. Now, this is not something new. We talk about this since so long. And that was not the first time that there was such a society. That is just something which is there and always there. The problem is that we are not discussing essence, we are discussing form. We are discussing processes, and we're not talking about the essence. And the essence is always the same. I don't have to go there now, but the essence is always the same. But as long as we're holding on that higher level to think that we will find a common ground on that layer, how could that be possible? That would be like making Biden and Trump coming together on a common ground. There is just no common ground because they both have their agendas. All religions have their agenda. So there is, obviously, it's nicer. Communication is nicer, but it doesn't really change anything. We can only find something on the essence of these religions. And we can only find a way to act together when we agree on when we talk about the essence only.
so might it be a solution when AI becomes our new religion? It's very
Every technology becomes religion to some people, huh? So that's what always happens.
yeah.
My experience of my 52 years on this planet shows that didn't change anything. So maybe this time, who knows? We'll wait and sit and wait. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
in a
believe it.
sense, I think it offers common ground, actually, the AI technology. And as long as it's accessible to everyone, probably we will need also to find and develop new layers. Decentralization is maybe one thing to ensure that it's not in one hand and from one spot you can dictate and dominate everything. We will see. In a sense, we have this also in ancient philosophies and ideas. And this is for us, I know you are similar like me, that you also go back and forth in ancient wisdom and in technology, and to see where is actually the bridge or where is actually the connection. And a little bit it reminds me also on the Akashic records, which is a myth if it exists or not. So in a sense, it's that everything is written in the sky, all your thoughts and all your actions, and you can just connect through it. And it's like a global human record where you can connect and get all the wisdom. And they say like great inventors like Edison or Tesla or whatever, they had techniques to connect through this energy. And in a sense, yeah, AI is like an Akashic record. We putting everything in it. And
Yeah, poor run then is the Akashic records for the poor then. So because wow, that's a total new rabbit hole we are opening
I
there. But
think we need a
we are all
second call for this then.
absolutely we we are all connected
Exactly.
through we are one. So let's just take the theme of the day. We are all 01 through internet. Fine. So we are all connected, but we also, that means that my thoughts are not my thoughts. Thoughts that everything is connected. But we lost the capacity to tap into that. And that's exactly what can happen. So what could happen? Talking about that, let me be a fortune teller or a futurist or whatever. What could happen is that we finally break down these walls in our brain, in our mind again, and that we can start to collaborate better together on a higher level. That telepathy becomes a thing because that's absolutely possible.
Beautiful.
It's proven that's possible. It's proven that's possible. We just don't. We just say. I invite everybody to look at the movie Lucy. I don't know if you saw it, and see. It's like, and the theory goes that we're using what 5% of our brain capacity, and she somehow Lucy got exposed to a drug which brings you to 100%. Now, what happens there is all nice. It's a nice movie, but the thing is, we have no clue because we were never there. So why are we not going there? And we understand that our mind is not only our brain, it is the whole body. We have 3 brains, at least 3 brains in our body, which is this one everybody talks about. We have this one, which is our heart, and we have one in our gut. Proven that there are neurons in the heart and in the gut. But I talk about that, and there's like half of the people say he's crazy. Because we are not talking about that, but it is a scientific proven reality. So if we start to connect to that, we don't know where we go. As much as we don't know where AI goes. Why are we not looking inside and really develop our own capacities? Imagine. Take Lucy as the basis and say, okay, probably telepathy is totally possible. Pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is. I had experiences which were similar. Not like, but where I understood thoughts of people sitting at my side, and it was a setup so that you were primed to be able to do that. So it was, but I had these kind of experiences. So if that works in a very creative way, it can just work like that because we go there. But we are not. I didn't think about that yet. So thank you for getting me into this flow state. But let's finally develop our own internal technology. Let's turn inside to develop our own internal technology and stop thinking that we have to invent something outside. That will come anyhow through the internal. But let's first look there. That's what it is about.
Beautiful. And I think I want to.
Yes, sorry.
No, you had such a beautiful, I would call it download actually. So what you shared and imagine, also John Lennon came up, imagine, you said how it would be. And yeah, just let's finish here. And I think this was a beautiful end. I liked talking to you and listening to you very much, dear
Same
Marco.
here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, looking forward also for the next time. I was hoping also that you share a little bit about your current work, but maybe you have a few words and so the people can find you also.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. Look me up, LinkedIn, Marco Houwen. I have a website. I have a created brand called zentrepreneur.com. I do keynotes, I do workshops, I do coaching, group coaching. Yeah, anything where I can give input based on my 25 years experience in business and based on my 52 years in life and spirituality. And just going there. And we don't have to go for spiritual things, so it doesn't have to go there. It's always in there because the question of our values and our purpose is always in there. And that's where we are already in spiritual intelligence. As soon as we talk about purpose, we talk about spiritual intelligence. We are priming ourselves to go deeper.
Marco, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And yeah, so that's it. Look out for Marco and like and subscribe the channel. And thank you for listening and or watching. And hope to see you guys next time again.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. Bye.
See you. Bye,
See
Petar.
you. Bye.